Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at something that's been on a lot of people's minds. The internet and social media, yeah. And how it's impacting how young people are socializing these days. Especially how they're learning.
And it's not just about how we're communicating, right?
Yeah.
It's about where a significant portion of that social development is actually happening now. Online.
Online.
A huge shift from previous generations.
It is. It really makes you think about the implications. I mean, we're talking 7.5 hours a day online for kids and teens, even outside of school.
Wow.
That's a huge chunk of their waking hours.
Right.
And what's even more interesting is this. Teens are actually choosing to text rather than have face-to-face conversations. What do you think about that?
That preference for digital interaction, right, over real-life encounters, that is definitely something to pay attention to. I'm curious, did you find yourself socializing more online as a teen? Or were things different back then?
Oh, completely different world. Think about it. We hung out at each other's houses. We went to the mall. We actually talked on the phone with cords.
Yeah.
Our social lives played out in person, not through screens.
That in-person interaction was vital for developing social skills. I mean, it was a constant learning experience. You had to read body language, navigate disagreements, pick up on all those subtle social cues, and you had to do it all in real time. So these are skills that were honed through constant practice, almost like a muscle being exercised.
That's such a great analogy. And it makes you wonder if today's youth are missing out on those crucial opportunities to develop those social muscles.
Yeah.
Because so much of their interaction is happening online.
Exactly. And while online platforms can offer some benefits for connection, they also present some challenges. For instance, let's look at the Pew Research Center's survey on teens and social media. It revealed that while most teens report generally positive experiences, they're much more critical of social media's impact on their peers.
Oh, so there's this awareness that it's not all sunshine and roses. What were some of the specific concerns that they highlighted?
Well, a significant number of teens, about 38%, reported feeling overwhelmed by the drama on social media.
Oh, wow.
And this suggests that even though teens are immersed in this digital world, right?
Right.
It doesn't necessarily equate to positive or even neutral experiences. It seems that there's a recognition, at least subconsciously, that things aren't quite right.
It's almost like they're experiencing the negative side effects firsthand, but they can't quite put their finger on the root cause.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting, actually. We're going to explore a fascinating concept called the video deficit, which delves into the science behind why in-person interaction is so crucial for social development. And it sheds light on what might be getting lost in this shift towards digital socialization.
Okay. I'm already intrigued. But before we get into that, let's break down some more of those stats and really unpack what they reveal about the potential downsides of this digital dependence. What other red flags did this Pew research uncover?
All right, we were just talking about how teens are more critical of social media's impact on their peers and on themselves. That's pretty telling, isn't it?
It is, and it highlights something crucial about the online world. The pressure to present a curated version of yourself.
Yeah.
Think about it. Social media profiles are often carefully crafted highlight reels, showcasing the best moments, the wittiest comments,
Right.
the most flattering photos. And it's a far cry from the messy, spontaneous reality of face-to-face interaction.
That makes total sense. I mean, I know I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, Choosing the perfect filter, crafting a witty caption, putting my best digital foot forward. Exactly. And the more we're exposed to these curated versions of others, the more we might start to compare ourselves and feel inadequate. And it's a recipe for self-doubt and anxiety, especially for young people who are still figuring out who they are and where they fit in.
Yeah. And that brings us back to this idea of the video deficit. I'm really curious to learn more about this concept and how it relates to the potential downsides of digital socialization.
Well, the video deficit refers to the idea that young children, particularly toddlers and preschoolers, learn better from live interaction than from screens.
Okay, so it's not just about teens and social media. It starts even earlier.
Exactly. There's a critical period in early childhood development where social cues and emotional intelligence are rapidly developing. And the research suggests that in-person interaction is absolutely vital during this period.
I'm guessing this has something to do with the richness of in-person communication.
Right.
All those nonverbal cues, the facial expressions, the tone of voice, the body language that you just don't get through a screen.
Precisely. Those nonverbal cues are like a secret language. That helps us understand the nuances of communication, the subtle shifts in emotion, the unspoken messages. They teach us how to read a room, how to empathize, how to build rapport.
It's almost like we're hardwired to learn through those real-time in-person interactions.
Exactly. And the more we rely on screens for communication, especially during those crucial early years, the less opportunity we have to develop those essential social and emotional skills.
And you mentioned research. Is there a study that really brings this point home?
There was a fascinating study done at a tech-free summer camp where children spent 5 days without any screens whatsoever.
Wow. 5 days. That's a pretty significant digital detox, especially for kids these days.
It was, but the results were remarkable. After just 5 days, those children showed significant improvement in their ability to read facial expressions and understand complex emotions. It was like their emotional intelligence had been given a boost simply by disconnecting from screens and re-engaging with the real world.
That's incredible. It really underscores the importance of face-to-face interaction, not just for kids, but for all of us.
And that brings us to a crucial question. How much of your communication happens online? Are you missing those subtle but important nonverbal cues in your daily interactions?
It's definitely something to think about. You know what? I'm even thinking back to my own childhood and teen years. We didn't have smartphones or social media, so our social lives were pretty much entirely offline.
Right.
We were constantly interacting face-to-face, navigating complex social situations, learning through trial and error. It wasn't always easy, but it definitely helped us develop those social skills.
That's a great point. You were essentially immersed in a constant social fitness program, building those muscles through daily practice. And while there's no denying the convenience and connectivity of the digital world, it's important to recognize what we might be sacrificing in terms of social and emotional development.
And I think it's not just about developing those skills. It's also about mental and emotional well-being. I mean, we've all heard about the rising rates of anxiety and depression, especially among young people. Is there a connection there?
There is a growing body of research that suggests a link between excessive screen time and mental health challenges, particularly loneliness and depression.
Yeah.
Gen Z is often labeled as the loneliest generation, and while there are likely multiple factors at play, the rise of smartphones and social media is definitely part of the equation.
That makes sense. Social media can create this false sense of connection. You might have thousands of followers, but that doesn't necessarily translate into meaningful relationships or a sense of belonging.
Exactly. It's like a social mirage. It looks and feels like connection, but it lacks the depth and substance of real-world relationships.
And I imagine this can be especially challenging for young people who are still figuring out their identity and their place in the world.
Absolutely.
Right.
And this brings us to the work of psychotherapist Catherine Smirling, who often prescribes socialization to her patients, particularly younger ones who are struggling with anxiety, depression, or a sense of isolation.
Prescribed socialization. That's an interesting approach. What exactly does that entail?
It's about encouraging her patients to engage in real-life interactions, to put down their devices and connect with others in meaningful ways.
So it's not just about limiting screen time. It's about replacing that time with real-world experiences. That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, what kinds of activities does she recommend?
Well, it can be anything that fosters genuine connection, joining a sports team, volunteering in the community, taking a cooking class, having dinner with friends, even just striking up a conversation with a stranger at a coffee shop. It's about getting out there and experiencing the world firsthand, interacting with others in a real and tangible way.
It's about reclaiming those lost opportunities for social interaction and emotional growth.
Precisely. And while it might seem daunting at first, especially for those who are used to the comfort and control of the digital world, the rewards are immeasurable.
I bet. It's like anything else. The more we practice those social skills, the more confident and comfortable we become.
Exactly. And the benefits go far beyond just feeling more socially adept. Strong social connections are linked to increased happiness, improved mental and physical health, and even longevity.
So it's not just about being a social butterfly. It's about investing in our overall well-being.
Absolutely. And this brings up another important point, the potential economic consequences of this digital dependence. We're seeing a growing trend of disengagement from school and the workforce, particularly among younger generations.
That's a worrying trend. What do you think is driving this disengagement?
There are likely multiple factors, but the allure of the digital world is certainly playing a role. It's so easy to get sucked into the endless scroll of social media, the instant gratification of video games, the constant stimulation of online content.
It's almost like we become addicted to distraction.
And this constant distraction can make it difficult to focus on the tasks at hand, whether it's studying for an exam, completing a work project, or even just engaging in a meaningful conversation.
So it's not just about social skills. It's about attention span, focus, and the ability to delay gratification. These are all essential skills for success in school, in the workplace, and in life in general.
Exactly. And if we're not careful, this growing dependence on digital distraction could have a significant impact on productivity, innovation, and overall societal well-being.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is. But before we get to doom and gloom, it's important to remember that technology itself isn't the enemy.
Right. We've been focusing on the downsides, but there are definitely positive aspects to the digital world as well.
Absolutely. The internet and social media can be incredibly powerful tools for connection, creativity, and social change. We'll delve into those benefits after a quick break.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about the potential downsides of digital socialization. But it's important to remember that technology isn't inherently bad. In fact, the internet and social media can be incredibly powerful tools when used thoughtfully.
Absolutely. I think it's all about perspective and balance. You know, these platforms can connect us with people and communities we might never have encountered otherwise, breaking down geographical barriers and fostering a sense of global citizenship.
That's a great point. I've definitely experienced that myself, connecting with people who share my interests, even if they live on the other side of the world. It's amazing to think about how technology can bring people together like that.
It's truly remarkable. And it's not just about individual connections. Social media has also become a powerful platform for activism and social change. You know, we've seen movements gain momentum online, raising awareness about important issues and mobilizing people to take action in ways that were unimaginable just a generation ago.
That's so true. It's like giving a voice to the voiceless, amplifying messages that might have otherwise gone unheard.
Exactly. And for individuals who might feel isolated or marginalized in their offline lives, these online communities can be a lifeline. They provide a sense of belonging, support, and shared understanding that can be incredibly valuable for mental and emotional well-being.
I can see how that would be especially important for people who are struggling to find their tribe in the real world.
It can be truly transformative. And let's not forget the incredible creative outlets that social media provides. It's a platform for self-expression, allowing people to share their talents, their passions, their unique perspectives with the world.
That's one of the things I find most inspiring about social media, seeing all the amazing creativity out there, whether it's art, music, writing, photography, or even just funny memes. It's incredible to see people using these platforms to connect and share their passions.
It's democratizing creativity, giving everyone a voice and a potential audience. And while there are certainly challenges associated with these platforms, it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the positive impact they can have as well.
So it seems like the key takeaway here is that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to use it wisely, mindfully, and with a clear understanding of both its potential benefits and its potential risks.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding that balance, embracing the opportunities for connection, creativity, and positive change, while also being mindful of the potential pitfalls and taking steps to mitigate those risks.
It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it? We need to be constantly aware, constantly adjusting, constantly making conscious choices about how we engage with these powerful tools.
Exactly. And it's not about rejecting technology altogether, but about integrating it into our lives in a way that enhances our well-being and strengthens our connections with each other and with the world around us.
This has been such a fascinating and thought-provoking deep dive. It's really made me think about my own relationship with technology and how I can be more intentional about using it in a way that supports my values and my goals.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Empowering individuals to make informed choices, to be critical thinkers, to engage with technology in a way that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this question. If happiness increases with age, as some studies suggest, and today's youth are facing unprecedented levels of loneliness and mental health challenges, what does that say about the future?
It's a question worth pondering, isn't it? What can we do as individuals and as a society to ensure that future generations don't miss out on the richness and fulfillment of genuine human connection?
How can we create a world where technology serves humanity rather than the other way around?
Those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. And I believe that by engaging in these conversations, by raising awareness, by making conscious choices in our own lives, We can create a future where technology and human connection can coexist and thrive.
It's a future worth striving for. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.